My girlfriend screamed, "Get out!" when I brought up marriage after 5 years together. I said, "Gladly." Then I moved out that night and left behind the ring I'd been hiding for months, with a note saying, "Dodge a bullet." Her panic calls started when her friends saw my engagement announcement 3 months later with, "I, 29 male, have always been the guy who fixes things. If a tire blows, I change it. If the Wi-Fi drops, I troubleshoot it. If my relationship hits a snag, I try to smooth it over. That tendency to overfunction is probably why I stayed with Lisa for 5 years, ignoring red flags that look more like a communist parade in retrospect. Lisa moved into my apartment 6 months into dating. At the time, she was between jobs, a state that somehow became permanent. I covered the rent, the utilities, the groceries, and her mental health days, which mostly consisted of brunch with friends and online shopping. I didn't mind providing. I was raised to take care of my partner. But over the last year, her entitlement shifted from gratitude to expectation, and finally to outright demand. The incident happened on a Tuesday. I'd spent months saving for a ring, a 1.5 carat solitaire that cost me a significant chunk of my bonuses. I wasn't planning a public spectacle. Lisa hated surprises, or so she said. I wanted to have a serious conversation about our timeline first, to make sure we were on the same page before I dropped to one knee. I made dinner, lasagna, her favorite. She sat at the table, scrolling through TikTok, barely acknowledging the food. "Lisa," I started, wiping my hands on a napkin. "We've been together 5 years. We're coming up on 30. I've been thinking a lot about the next step." She didn't look up. "Can we not do this right now? I'm watching a thread." "It's important," I pressed, keeping my voice steady. "I want to know where you see us. Marriage, building a future. I'm ready to make that commitment official." The reaction was immediate and visceral. She slammed her phone onto the table, cracking the screen protector. Her eyes went wide, not with joy, but with pure, unadulterated panic that instantly morphed into rage. "Marriage," she shrieked. "Why are you obsessing over this? Why are you trying to trap me?" I blinked, confused. "Trap you? We live together. I pay for everything. I'm talking about a wedding, not a prison sentence." "It's the same thing." She stood up, knocking her chair back. "You always do this. You try to control the narrative. I am not ready to be some housewife. I need space to breathe. You're suffocating me with this pressure." I asked a question, Lisa. "Get out," she screamed, pointing at the door. "Just get out. I can't look at you right now. You're ruining my vibe. Go stay at a hotel or something until you can stop being so manipulative." The audacity hung in the air. This was my apartment. My name was on the lease. I paid the rent. But looking at her face, twisted in an ugly sneer of entitlement, something inside me just clicked off. The fixer in me died. "Okay," I said. She paused, looking momentarily confused by my lack of a fight. "Okay. Yeah. You want space? You got it." I walked into the bedroom. I didn't pack a bag for a night. I grabbed my large suitcase. I threw in my work clothes, my laptop, my documents, and my toiletries. I moved with a mechanical precision that scared me a little. "What are you doing?" she called from the living room, her voice losing some of that aggressive edge. "You don't have to take everything. Just go cool off." I didn't answer. I walked back out to the living room. She was sitting down again, eating the lasagna I made. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the velvet box I'd been hiding for 3 months. I placed it gently on the counter next to her keys. "What's that?" she asked, a flicker of greed lighting up her eyes. "The reason I brought up marriage," I said. I grabbed a sticky note and a pen. I wrote 3 words, "Dodged a bullet." I stuck it to the box. "I'm leaving, Lisa. Since you need space, you can have the whole apartment. Rent is due on the 1st. Utilities are under my name, so I'll be shutting those off on Monday. Good luck." Her fork dropped. "You can't do that. You can't just leave me here with no money. That's financial abuse." "No," I said, opening the front door. "That's equality. You're an independent woman who doesn't want to be trapped. I'm setting you free." I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I closed it softly, hearing her chair scrape against the floor as she scrambled to follow me. But I was already in the elevator. I checked into a hotel downtown and sat on the edge of the bed. My phone started buzzing 5 minutes later. Lisa, you're being dramatic. Come back. Lisa, is this ring real? Lisa, you can't leave me here alone. I'm scared. Lisa, stop ignoring me. I'm calling the cops. I turned my phone off. The silence was heavy. But for the first time in 5 years, it didn't feel like I was holding my breath. I didn't know it then, but the get out was the easy part. The war was just beginning. The next morning, the reality of the legal and financial mess I was in began to set in. I wasn't just breaking up. I was extracting myself from a parasite. I turned my phone back on to 47 missed calls and a wall of text messages ranging from apologies to threats of self-harm back to rage. I didn't reply. Instead, I called my landlord. Hey, Mr. Henderson. It's me. Look, I'm moving out. I know my lease is month to month right now, so consider this my 30-day notice. Sorry to hear that, son, Henderson said. What about the girl? She's refusing to leave. I'm handling the legal side, but I wanted you to know she is not on the lease, and I am no longer covering the rent effective next month. Understood. If she's not out by the 1st, I start the eviction. You know the drill. I did, but I needed to protect myself further. I took the day off work and went to see a lawyer, a sharp woman named Sarah who specialized in family law and property disputes. Here's the situation, Sarah said, reviewing my notes. Since she's not on the lease and never paid rent, she's technically a tenant at will or a licensee. In our state, you still owe her notice to vacate. You can't just change the locks today. That's an illegal self-help eviction, and she could sue you for damages. I gave notice to the landlord. I'm paying this month's rent to keep my credit clean, I explained. But she thinks she has rights to my assets because we live together. Sarah scoffed. Common law marriage isn't recognized in this state just by cohabitation, no matter how long it's been, unless you presented yourselves as married for tax purposes or open joint accounts. She's a roommate who doesn't pay. She drafted a formal notice to quit, giving Lisa 30 days to vacate the premises. It was cold, legal, and final. One more thing, I said, hesitating. Why did she freak out? It doesn't make sense. She likes my money. Marriage secures that. Usually, Sarah tapped her pen on the desk. There's someone else. Or she's hiding debt. Check your credit report and your bank statements. Deeply, I spent that night in the hotel room poring over 5 years of finances. I'd always respected her privacy, never looking at her phone or mail. That was a mistake. I noticed a pattern in my Venmo history. I often sent her money for groceries or bills that she claimed to pay. I cross-referenced those dates with the actual utility withdrawals from my main account. I had paid the electric bill on autopay, but I had also Venmo'd her $200 for electric 3 days prior. She had been double-dipping for years. But the kicker was a recurring transfer she made from a joint savings account we opened for emergencies, an account I funded, but she had access to. Every month, $500 went to an account labeled Cam LLC. I Googled Cam LLC. Nothing. Then I searched her Facebook friends list. It took 2 hours of scrolling through her tagged photos from 5 years ago. I found a guy named Kevin Miller. Cam. I clicked on his profile. It was semi-private, but his bio read, "Building the Empire with my day one." I scrolled down to a post from 2 days ago. It was a picture of a new gaming setup. The caption, "Babe came through with the upgrade. #blessed." The timeline matched the withdrawal she made from our account for car repairs. My blood ran cold. She wasn't just entitled. She was funding her ex-boyfriend or current boyfriend with my salary while living in my house. The get out wasn't fear commitment. It was fear discovery. A legal marriage requires financial disclosure. If we married, I'd see everything. I didn't feel sad anymore. The last remnant of affection evaporated, replaced by a cold, hard resolve. I texted her for the first time in 48 hours. "A process server is coming by tomorrow with a document. Read it. Lisa, baby, please. I'm sorry. I was just stressed. Come home. I made your favorite lasagna again. We can talk about the ring. I tried it on. It fits perfectly. Me. Put the ring back in the box, Lisa. And say hi to Kevin for me. The 3 dots of her typing bubble appeared, hovered for a long time, and then vanished. The silence that followed my text about Kevin lasted exactly 12 minutes. Then my phone exploded. Lisa, you're crazy. Kevin is my cousin. Lisa, you're stalking me now? That's illegal. Lisa, I'm going to sue you for emotional distress. I forwarded the screenshots of the messages and the bank transfers to Sarah, my lawyer. Is this enough for a civil suit? I asked. Conversion, Sarah replied. Civil theft. We can attach a lawsuit to the eviction. It won't be quick, but we can make her life very difficult. The next 30 days were a lesson in human malice. Lisa refused to leave. She told mutual friends I was abusive, that I had thrown her out on the street because she gained weight, a complete lie. I lost 2 friends who didn't bother to ask for my side. I didn't care. It was cleaning house. However, Lisa's entitlement had blinded her to how the law actually works. She assumed that if she just stayed put, squatters' rights would kick in immediately. She was wrong. I maintained absolute radio silence, communicating only through Sarah. This drove Lisa insane. Narcissists need fuel. They need a reaction. I gave her nothing but legal letterhead. On day 29, I went to the apartment with the landlord and a police escort to conduct a move-out inspection prior to the lease termination. I stayed in the hallway while the officer knocked. Lisa opened the door, looking disheveled. She spotted me behind the cop and sneered. You brought a security guard? Really? Ma'am, I am a police officer, he said, his face impassive. We're here to ensure the peace. Tomorrow is the deadline on the notice to quit. Are you packed? I'm not going anywhere, she shouted. This is my home. I have rights. We are common law married. Actually, I spoke up, stepping forward. We aren't. Common law requires holding ourselves out as married, which we never did. Also, I've seen the Facebook post with Kevin. Hard to be common law married to me when you've been playing house with him for 3 years. Her face went pale. I had bluffed. I didn't know the exact duration, but the fear in her eyes confirmed it. You're lying, she hissed. Am I? I also canceled the credit cards you were authorized on. And Mr. Henderson here has already listed the unit for rent starting the 5th. If you aren't out by tomorrow at noon, the sheriff returns with a court order to physically remove you, and anything you leave behind goes to the curb. She looked at the landlord, then the cop, then me. The realization that her tantrum wasn't working finally hit. You're a monster, she spat. I gave you the best years of my life. You sold them to me. I corrected, and you overcharged. I left. She moved out the next day, but she didn't go quietly. She poured bleach on the carpet in the bedroom and stole the shower curtains. Petty stuff. However, the real blow for her came 2 weeks later. I sued her for $14,000. The estimated total of the funds she misappropriated to Kevin, plus the damage to the apartment, which came out of my security deposit, since the amount was over the small claims limit in our state. Sarah filed it in civil court. Because she had no official income, Kevin was apparently broke too, and she likely couldn't afford a lawyer. She ignored the court summons. A default judgment was entered against her. I didn't expect to get the money back immediately. I did it for the leverage. The moment she ever got a legitimate job or a tax refund or a lottery win, I would take a cut. It was a permanent stain on her credit report. Good luck getting a lease with an eviction record and a massive outstanding judgment. I moved on. I focused on work, hit the gym, and surprisingly, kept in touch with Sarah. It started as finalizing case, then coffee to celebrate the judgment, then dinner. 3 months passed. I was scrolling Facebook when I saw Lisa had unblocked me. She posted a long, rambling status about surviving toxic narcissists and rising from the ashes. She was crowdfunding for a new apartment. I decided it was time for the final nail. I posted an update, a photo. The photo was simple. It was a hand, My hand, holding a glass of champagne, clinking against a woman's hand. On that woman's finger set a ring. Not the 1.5-carat diamond I had bought for Lisa, that one I had returned, taking the 20% restocking fee as a stupidity tax. This ring was a vintage sapphire, elegant and unique. The caption read, "Sometimes you have to lose everything to find the person who was there all along." Excited to announce, I said yes to the future. #upgrade. Now, full disclosure, we weren't actually getting married yet. We had been dating for about 2 months, and things were going great, but the engagement was a calculated move. Sarah found the idea of trolling Lisa legally hilarious. We bought a nice cocktail ring from a vintage shop just for the photo. It was bait. The internet did its thing. The post blew up. Mutual friends who had stayed silent congratulated me. Lisa's reaction was instantaneous. My phone rang. It was a spoof number. "Who is she?" Lisa screamed the moment I answered. No hello, just pure, shrill hysteria. "Hello, Lisa. Who is who? You're engaged? It's been 3 months. You were cheating on me. I knew it. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to tell everyone." "You're on speaker," I said calmly, "and my fiancé is listening. Say hi, Sarah." "Hi, Lisa," Sarah said, her voice dripping with professional sweetness. "This is Sarah, my last name, as attorney. Just a heads up, any public defamation you post claiming infidelity will be met with a libel suit. We already have the judgment for the $14,000 you owe. I'd hate to add legal fees to that tab." There was a choking sound on the other end. You're dating your lawyer?" "She's a great lawyer," I said. "She really knows how to spot a fraud." "You ruined my life." Lisa sobbed. "Kevin left me because I have no money. I'm sleeping on a couch. You owe me." "I owe you nothing," I said, my voice dropping to a low, hard tone. "You told me to get out. You told me to leave you alone. You wanted independence. Enjoy it." I hung up. We blocked the number. The fallout was absolute. Lisa tried to badmouth me online, but Sarah sent a cease and desist letter that was so terrifyingly detailed regarding Lisa's theft and fraud that Lisa deleted her social media entirely. Without me funding her lifestyle, and with Kevin gone the moment the cash flow stopped, Lisa had to move back in with her parents in a different state. The last I heard, she was working retail, and her wages were being garnished to pay back the judgment. It's not much, maybe $50 a week, but every time she sees that deduction on her pay stub, she has to think of me. As for me, the prank with Sarah actually turned into something real. We just celebrated our 1-year anniversary, dating, not married yet, because we're adults who actually communicate. I kept the sticky note I wrote that night, dodged a bullet. I framed it and put it in my home office. It's a reminder that sometimes the worst thing a person can do to you is exactly what you need them to do. Let you go.